This is from PBS News, the often misunderstood legacy of the Black Panther Party. In the 1960s civil rights movement, some concluded that nonviolence and the focus on integration had failed. Their cry was Black Power, rather than We Shall Overcome. One of the most prominent of these groups was the Black Panther Party, and it was also perhaps one of the most misunderstood and vilified by the white establishment. We take a closer look for a Hidden History series.
The Black Panther Party was revolutionary in both its goals and its tactics. It began in 1966 in response to both the assassination of Malcolm X, a leading advocate of black separatism, and the killing of an unarmed black 16-year-old named Matthew Johnson during a San Francisco police stop. Founders Bobby Seale and Huey Newton were college students at the time. We have a Black Panther Party. As long as the evil tetra and corrupt officials, as long as the oppressor makes the laws, the people are not bound to respect them. We are bound to transform society and erect a system where people will receive justice. Huey Newton, co-founder of the Black Panther Party. Their 10-point program leaned heavily on Marxism. They saw black American struggles. In America, black people are treated very much as the Vietnamese people are any other colonized people, because where you were brutalized, the police in our community occupy our area, our community as a foreign troop occupies territory, Newton said. The Black Panther Party provided community services called survival programs to promote self-determination, free food, especially breakfast for school children, free health care, and voter registration drives. They established schools in 9 cities. Women made up nearly half of the Panther membership of about 2,000, and they often held leadership roles. From 1974 until 1977, Elaine Brown was the head of the National Party, but it was the group's paramilitary displays that drew the white establishment's attention and alarm. Members patrolled neighborhoods with black jackets and black berets, openly and legally carrying weapons. For many white Americans, a photo of stern-looking Newton holding a rifle and a spear became the image of the Black Panthers. It's crazy, like, everyone's rah-rah Second Amendment until they see a black man with a rifle. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover called the party the greatest threat to internal security and ordered surveillance to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, and otherwise neutralize the Black Panthers. Tensions with local police led to deadly clashes. In Chicago, a police raid killed rising party star Fred Hampton and party member Mark Clark. In 1982, the federal government paid $1.8 million to settle a lawsuit alleging that the FBI had a role in the Chicago raid. Plagued by internal disputes and power struggles, the party was essentially defunct by the late 1970s. It was formally disbanded in 1982. Party members are among the first to openly challenge police violence, often converging on the same scene when officers stopped young black men on the streets. Donna Murch, author, Living for the City. I think the greatest legacy was a youth movement, a young organization composed mainly of people in their late teens and early 20s, working class youth, that had migrated from the South, who found themselves having unprecedented access to high school and college in California. And out of that, they helped form a study group and create a new type of organization and youth movement that was focused on serving the community. It started with confronting police violence, because that's what the community saw as the biggest single problem. This is the era of the urban rebellions, you know. The party was formed a year after Watts, and they were willing to perform a form of activism in order to empower others. But very quickly, after police patrols, the Panthers shifted into something called survival pending revolution, which meant founding free breakfast programs, freedom schools, and the longest running institution of the Black Panther Party was a school in Oakland that ran for almost a decade. I think one of the best ways to understand the Panther Party is to think about the Black freedom movement as having a large geography and time period. So the party was formed a year after the passage of the Voting Rights Act. But you know, the dismantling of legal segregation in the South did not dismantle the problems of economics and access in the North and in the West. And one of the central issues about this was both police violence and people not having equal access to the social welfare state. So I would describe the Panthers as emerging in this moment, post-civil rights, after the accomplishments of the civil rights movement, of the successful passage of the Civil Rights Act and also the Voting Rights Act. But I would be remiss not to talk about the global link to the Panthers. They formed in 1966, and this is after over a decade of decolonization of African countries winning their independence. And also, very importantly, they looked to Asia. The Panthers are formed in Northern California, and they were adamant in their opposition to the Vietnam War and American imperialism. They identified with the Vietnamese, the Viet Minh and the Ho Chi Minh, and they actually looked a lot to Vietnam, to China, and to a vision of anti-colonialism and a socialist state that would serve the people. So I think that's one of the most important contexts. The other thing I really want to stress is that the popular representations of the Panthers are wrong. So many people find out about the Panthers through Forrest Gump. They're represented as anti-white black militants. But the truth is that the party of all the 60s organizations, they had the strongest ties to creating a multiracial coalition, what was called in this period the Rainbow Coalition that Jesse Jackson later picks up on. So they united with white radical youth, who they called Mother Country Radicals, to oppose the Vietnam War. And this was incredibly threatening to the government at the time. J. Edgar Hoover in particular, because you basically saw a multiracial coalition uniting to stop anti-communism and violence in the global South. So I think that would also be the Panthers' legacy, a model of multiracial coalition building. They were arguing that the social welfare state as it existed was not serving the people, and that they as teenagers could provide free breakfast. And when they started their freedom schools, many of the low-income children who went to Panther schools had not had breakfast, and they couldn't learn. And so they were shaming the state. And although we don't have direct documentary evidence, it is thought that by many scholars that shaming of the state prompted the issuing of free school lunch, she said. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains.